I've got something for you. I don't give it to you right now. Just don't let me forget to give it to you. So we're going to talk about self-confidence. Finding self-confidence requires finding the self. So I don't know about you guys, but from time to time, most people, most of us, have a little bit of a struggle with self-confidence. Is that true? That's true. You hold your hand up if you sometimes. I mean, if you're struggling with it right this minute, go ahead and hold your hand. So I notice that as I go around different places in different parts of the world, it's not just something that's here or there, it's just everywhere. You see people that you can see that they have great qualities. And, a devotee, we always see the finer qualities first in people. We all know that there's some lesser qualities, but the first thing that we train ourselves to look for, it becomes a reflex after so long, is to find the finer qualities that people have, you see. And you can see after you get to know them for a while that they would excel much better if they knew the quality that they had. If they knew how good they were, well, they'd be even better. If they knew how great they were, they'd be even better. The only thing that's holding us back a lot of times, and I think you'll agree with me, it's okay if you don't. If you don't agree with me, you can leave. There's 2 doors, one there and one there. No, just kidding. But the thing that holds us back more than anything is our lack of self-confidence. We don't know how to go full speed ahead, you see. It's holding us back because of some self-doubts that we have. Millions of reasons why we get these self-doubts. It could have been poor environment as we were growing up. Could have been friends, could have been siblings, could have been parents. It could have been who knows who. But, a lot of times our environment will convince us that we're just not that great. I remember growing up, I was told, you're never going to amount to nothing. They were right. Here I am. I'm really nobody and I'm nothing. When you're a Vanaprasth, there's no position. I don't have any position. Some people think that being a spiritual master or guru is like a position. No, it's a service. And, it's nice when you take the Vanaprasth stage of life that you realize that you are nothing and you're nobody. And so that's good. I guess when my stepfather used to tell me you're going to turn out to be nothing, he was right. He could see into the future. So, but let's talk about self-confidence. Srimad Bhagavatam is such a wonderful series of books. How many people here have not read Srimad Bhagavatam? Okay. We need to fix that. You need knowledge. If you're going to be an accountant, you need accountant knowledge. A good accountant needs to teach you how to be an accountant. Even if you're going to be an automobile mechanic, you've got to study from an expert mechanic. Well, I'm glad you came back. I thought it was something I said. You just up and left. Yeah, it was something you knew I was going to say, right? There you go. So, if you're going to be a real human being, you've got to learn real human being knowledge. It's just because we're in these human bodies doesn't mean that we have all the knowledge that we need to be a human being. It's like, I remember when I was a kid, I saw a television show about a boy. that was lost from his family in the woods and raised by wolves. And so they found him, or somebody found this pack of wolves, and here's this human boy, young boy, running with the wolves. He thought he was a wolf, but he was a human being. So they captured him, and he was like, they took him back to civilization, and they trained him how to be a human being to the best of their ability. So we see people that are in human bodies, but we don't fully know, what does that mean? What is this privilege that comes with a human body? If we just simply follow the same pursuits that all living entities follow, I need something to eat. I need a place to sleep. Gee whiz, I need a mate. And now that I've got this, I need to defend it. So eating, sleeping, mating, and defending is something that all species do, not just human beings, but the human beings may do that, but they do it in a managed way. They manage what they eat. You see, the human being can say, I mean, it's sort of like the tiger. You know, if the tiger all of a sudden, he doesn't feel guilty if he is eating people. You know, if he jumps out of the bushes and eats you or another critter, you know, he doesn't think, oh my God, I feel so bad. I may become a vegan. You know, he doesn't have that choice. He's a carnivore. So human beings have choice, and they apply knowledge, intelligence to make the choice. Should I eat this? Should I not eat that? So being a true human being, meaning using this body for what it's able to do, takes some knowledge. And so to get human being knowledge, you have to associate with people who are on that human being level. If you associate with people who are lesser human beings, closer to the animalistic consciousness, you know what you get. You get lower human being knowledge. More animal, less human. So our purpose is to help you become fully human. And that means embracing the knowledge in Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Vedas. So we have class every morning on Srimad Bhagavatam here in the temple room. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is Maitreya talking with Vidura. This is third canto, chapter 7, verses 10 through 12. We're going to read. Stop me at any time with questions or comments. So Maitreya says the living entity is in distress regarding his self-identity. That sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? He has no factual background. Like a man who dreams, he sees his head cut off. So the living entity is in distress regarding his self-identity. Well, see, that's something we've all gone through all of our lives, haven't we? When we were children, we had an identity, and then along comes puberty. Puberty just beats us up. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I always felt like it was kicking me around, you know, like going from this change into this other change, you know, so now I get a different identity, you know, and then later on, you go to college, where you get another identity, you know, whole new identity. And then you get out of college and now you got to go into the workforce. Whoa, got another identity. Then you get, you mate, you find a partner. I don't like that term. You get married. I don't like that partner term. It's like, you know, anyway, I'm old. See, so now you're in a whole different world. You got a whole new identity. And so then you'll do fine, maybe raise some kids. And then you're going to get into midlife. And then there's a midlife crisis, which is real. So you have a whole new identity crisis. The midlife crisis doesn't come from so much from physical. It comes from my identity. Why, gosh, once I was a kid, then I went through puberty, and then I was in school, and then I started out in my career, and then I started having kids, and now the kids are grown, and now the wife is this, and the job is that, and what am I? So it's an identity crisis that happens in midlife. It's real. Almost everybody goes through it in varying degrees. So, and then as we live through the midlife crisis, we turn around and we realize, a little voice in your head maybe whispers or maybe even says very loud, "You're old." Why, that midlife crisis was nothing. You're an old person. Well, I thought I was a midlife guy having a midlife struggle. No, you're having the struggles of an old person. So, gee whiz, you can see how this is a right-on statement here. The living entity is in distress regarding his self-identity, and that happens to us all through life, unless there's a light at the end of the tunnel. He has no factual background. What is my background? You ever think about that? I mean, you guys are probably, I know there's some deep thinkers in it. Have you ever thought about your background? Well, you can trace it back. Yeah, well, I was born in Tennessee, and I grew up in Chicago. But wait a minute, what before that? I don't remember. Srila Prabhupada could remember when he was 6 months old. I can remember when I was fuzzy, when I was a year. But I don't know what. I'm an eternal living entity. I don't know what was going on before that. I'm a little curious, So I don't have any background. You do a background check on me, it stops in 1948. Well, I've existed for eternity, though. Where was I? What was I doing? I don't know, you see. So that can cause us a little bit of distress. So Prabhupada says in the purport, the miseries of the pure soul and the disruption of his self-identification are managed by the external energy of the Lord, which controls those mischievous living entities who want to go against the will of the Lord. Notice how Prabhupada put that? Prabhupada is so expert. He didn't call you a slime bag because you left the spiritual world and came. It's just mischievous. And that's the way we should look at ourselves. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm so fallen," like that's something I can hide under. Why don't you do this? Well, I'm so fallen. Why don't you do this? It'll help you in your advancement. But I'm so fallen. Now stop that. You're just mischievous. We are mischievous. We got to the point before we came to this world that we didn't want to take any instruction from anybody. You see, we wanted our independence. Well, we have a minute amount of independence from the source of everything. So we can't be fully independent. It's just like this microphone is dependent on the electric current. I mean, it's it's far away right now from the wall socket, but it's dependent on the electricity. It won't work independently. You unplug it, it's dead. You see, we cannot unplug from the Supreme, the source of energy. We are part of his energy. We are always dependent, but he gives us a minute amount of independence to make our relationship more interesting and more enjoyable for both of us. Because we have this perception of minute independence, we decide, you know what, I'm not going to stay here and be, what do they call it, play second fiddle. I mean, there's this Krishna, and he's really great, and everybody's got him as the center of their universe, but what about me? Why can't I be the center of, okay, maybe I can't be the center of the universe, but can I be center of something? Why is it always him? So we get a little mischievous and we decide, I'm just going to leave. And Krishna says, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, and I've created this entire world for you. You can go away from the real world into this manufactured world that Krishna has manufactured, just so we can come have a place where we can be all we can be without him. You see? And so that's what we are. We're mischievous. We're trying to do something and enjoy separate from him. You see? And to do that, we need help, because God is so magnanimous. He's so beautiful. He's so sweet and wonderful, so loving. We have to have help to forget him. It's not possible to forget somebody that marvelous. So we get help from the material energy, Maya, the illusory energy, who says, come on, come to my world. It's okay. Maybe you can be the center of the universe here. You don't need God. So you just come on to the material energy. So we fall into the control of the material energy. I don't want to serve Krishna, but yet my dharma means that what you are meant to do. It's like the dharma of water is wet. Water is wet. You can't change it. You see, fire is hot. You can't change that. Your dharma is to serve. That's what you do. You feel great, happy, peaceful, loving when you're giving love and when you're serving, when you're pleasing. That is your nature as a living entity. So what we do is we take that and we turn that, I want to give pleasure to me. I want to serve me. Well, you either serve Krishna or you serve Maya, the illusory energy. You're going to serve because that's what you do. And in trying to serve ourselves, we're actually serving the material energy. If we're not serving Krishna, we're not getting true satisfaction. If we're not serving others, we're not getting true satisfaction. That's what we do. And that's what gives us great, great pleasure. So, Prabhupada goes on, there is no bondage or misery for the living entity, nor does he ever lose his pure knowledge. In his pure consciousness, when he thinks a little seriously about his position, he can understand that he is eternally subordinate to the mercy of the Supreme, and that his attempt to become one with the Supreme Lord is also a false illusion. When we travel through this material world for a while, we don't really forget that there is a Supreme. Others will have not forgotten that there is a God. Somebody will tell you that there is a God, and then you don't really remember anything about God, but you used to associate personally with him. You don't remember. The material energy has covered you over. You're in illusion. You're like in a spiritual coma. You don't remember any of this. It's just like you can't remember before 1 year old or something like that. You can't remember. You know you were there. I know I was there in 1948, but I don't remember any of the headlines in 1948. I don't, you see. So there's my knowledge stops because I'm so covered over. Now, what is that covering that kind of cripples my ability to remember? What is that? It's very simple. It sounds complicated because we may not know, but it's actually very simple. That the complication that takes away our memory is our identity, our identifying with this body and this world. I start to accept that this body is me and this world is my home. This is where I live. This is where I come from. People ask, where did you come from? Puerto Rico. Well, no, before that. Well, I don't know. You see, where were you last lifetime? I don't know. There's all these people who have, what do they call it? The past life regression, So there are people who, for money, will tell you what your past life was, And I hear people, or I used to, it's not for the last few years, it hasn't been a popular thing, but there for a while, there were a lot of people online saying, for X number of dollars, I can tell you what your previous life was, And so people were saying, well, I was a prince, or I was a great warrior, or I was this or that. Nobody ever said, well, I was a dog.
You said that, or did
Huh?
You said that.
I've said that before, yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you identify with your job and what way you do? Try to live this life that we gotta live. Now we know that we're whatever we are, Puerto Rico, Mexican, whatever. And how do you identify? How do you know, like, hey, this is where I gotta wake up every day. This is where I gotta pay my bills. Some of us don't live the life, fully, I guess.
Yeah.
But you're still trying to live good and serve in whatever way that you can. How do you manage to identify whether because we're brown skin or this? I guess that don't matter no more. But to live the life.
Well, we need to figure out first, what is my identity? Before I can have self-confidence, I've got to know what myself is. It wasn't me at 5, it wasn't me at 12, it wasn't me at 18, it wasn't me at 23, it wasn't me at 25, 45, it's not me at 78. You see, that's not my identity. My identity is something beyond that. Now, my identity may be much different from my activities, you see, because I am in this world and I am embodied. I'm in this body. I have to keep soul and body together. I have to feed this body, and it's going to need to sleep. You see, there's certain things the body seems to need. And so I may develop a profession based on my varna. When we're born, we have a certain varna, meaning a certain occupational duty. Some people are born to be teachers. They're scholarly. They just study, and they teach. So they're Brahmins. Some people are defenders. They're always ready to take up arms and defend the neighborhood, the country, you, neighbors. And those are like policemen, soldiers. So those are kshatriyas. And there are people who just do business. They're really good. They can somehow take this and put it over there and make a profit. They're called Vaishyas. And there's some people who aren't really good at the other three, but yet they've got a big contribution and the world can't live without them. And those are the Shudras. So depending on our Varna, and none are better than the other, it's just that they all have different activities. We perform our occupational duty, you see. But in knowing who am I, what is my self-identity? So if I don't know myself, I can't tell how I'm doing right now. You see, if I think, well, I'm a lawyer, I'm an attorney. I'm doing good because I'm winning a lot of cases and I'm making a lot of money. I'm getting a whole lot of likes on Facebook. I'm doing, Well, but that's all false. You're not an attorney. You're not this body. You're doing the activities of an attorney. So at the time of death, what will you be? Sometime before the time of death, most attorneys are going to retire. You see, you go on a whole new phase. But what will you be next lifetime? People don't give you straight answers on that. Many people will tell you nobody really knows for sure, but they've never read Srimad Bhagavatam. They don't know how to identify what their true self is. So if I know what I am, then I can kind of judge how I'm doing. You see? So what am I? I'm an eternal spirit soul. I'm an eternal loving friend and associate and servant of the Supreme Godhead. That's where I was before I came to this material world. That's still what I am. I'm just thinking I'm something else. I'm just misguided. I'm covered over by the illusion. You know, like the little boy that was raised by the wolves. He really believed he was a wolf. You see? Actually, this has happened many times. I used to know some of the stories of human beings that were raised by animals. So, but it's a real thing. It's happened. It's history. So, I was raised in an environment that nobody knew the truth. Nobody taught me Srimad Bhagavatam from birth. You know, I got some of this and some of that about God, and a little of this and a little of that, only enough to make me realize that I should be afraid, and because I don't understand fully what this God guy's all about, and he's really powerful, and so he's powerful and he's kind of unknown. That's kind of scary, you know, until I got close to those who were giving me knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Well, it's then like the lights go on and you connect the dots. Well, now I know what I am. If I know what I am, now I can judge how I'm doing. You see? Well, how are you doing? Well, I'm reading Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm educating myself on how to live like a human being. If I live like a human being, there's a good chance I'll die like a human being. And if I die like a spiritual human being, then my next lifetime is assured to be good, whatever it may be. If I can become liberated by following the intelligence in Srimad Bhagavatam, then I'll have no more birth and no more death, and I'll return back home where I came from, back to Krishna, back to being me. You see, that something we all really need to realize is that being you, being who and what you really are, is a very wonderful thing. You're never going to get that good in the material world until you become fully realized on who you are. When you realize who and what you are, when you realize what the self is, then you can reach a really, really high potential. See, you can actually be liberated and be walking around in these bodies. You don't have to die to get it. Other religions, you got to die to see if it's true. You don't here. After over 5 decades, I can tell you that you don't have to die to get full realization from the intelligence you get from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Krishna doesn't want you to have to die to taste the ecstasy of knowing who you are and actually being your true self. Well, if we knew what all of us in this room, if we knew what our true selves was, we'd be there, wouldn't we? I wouldn't have to fake somebody out by, I'm a good God-fearing Republican, or I'm a good Trump-hating Democrat, or, one thing about America, it just disgusts me, so much hate. So much hate. when you're spend a long time outside the country and you look back in from others' eyes and hear the way people in other parts of the world, how they look at us, they think we're crazy. Most of the people in the world want to come here, right? Do you agree with that? I mean, if people are trying, they're willing to sneak in here, risk all kinds of things to try to get here. And yet the people who are here are just not happy. Why, this place just stinks because of him or her or that or them, you know. All the time we were in West Bengal, for months, did we hear anybody complaining about being there? They're like, this is great, No, I asked this one guy in Mayapur several years ago. This old guy just walking around, barely limping with a stick. He looked like he was decrepit, like he was going to fall over. And I asked him how. I saw him, and our eyes met, and I said, he offered pranams, and I offered pranams, and I said, "How are you today?" Americans say that. Most people in the world don't say that, but we do. And sometimes we actually mean it. I wanted to know how you're doing. You're not looking that good, Poor old guy, he had hardly anything. How are you? How are you today? And he looked at me and his eyes got a little wet and he said, "This morning I woke up in Mayapur." He didn't want anything. He didn't need anything. He didn't have anything. He didn't want anything. You see, on the other side of the globe, there's people who have everything and it's just not good enough. Yeah.
I was reading something, I think Prabhupada has used this analogy a couple times, that this whole material world is like, we're basically the donkey that's carrying these huge loads. And if we're lucky, we get a few mouthfuls of grass at the end of the day. So we're trapped in this cycle of not getting much beyond mating, defending, and sleeping and eating. So even though we're not raised by wolves, this whole material world seems to want to keep us in an animal consciousness.
Yeah.
So we never transcend, we never think about those things.
But most people would say, "How dare you call me an animal? Why, I have this degree and I've got these letters after my name. How dare you?" Because I see myself as something greater than my appearance is. But if you knew how great you really were, you'd be very humble. You see what I mean? Most people are not very humble because they're trying to be greater than they actually are. Just come on, look at, what do they call it? The pictures, your picture on Facebook. What do they call that?
Profile picture.
Profile picture. It's never like you, is it? Hardly ever. You see I see some of I get a friend request from somebody that I know, and I look at it, and I look at their picture, and I think, how old were you when you took that? Or what? No, it's like I'm projecting a me. We've been doing that for billions of lifetimes. It's like that fish, the puffer fish, when they're threatened, they swell up. They're not big, but they fill up full of air and they act like they're tough. So this world is full of illusion and people trying to fake you out. I don't know what I am, but I want to be greater than I know I am in this material identity that I think I have. So I've got to put my best foot forward. I'm going to actually make it better than I try to make you feel that I'm better than I really am, because heck, I don't know what I am. I just think, you see. But when you get to the point where you realize that I am part and parcel of the Supreme Godhead, Well, that's about all you really need to know. I am eternal. I'm loved by the supreme source of love. And that means I am loved more than I can possibly imagine being loved. So I don't have to go out in the world looking for love. I don't have to worry about it looking for love. If you're loved by Krishna, if you're loved by Krishna, and you are, then every living entity loves you. They just may not know it yet. Because they're thinking there's somebody, they're trying to put their profile picture in front of you, and they're all trying to do their thing and outdo you, you know. But actually, if you got to know me, you would love me. Krishna loves me, and you know, he's got some really particular taste.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, this is the guy that can have it any way he wants, right? This is God we're talking about. So you, as his part and parcel, what do you think you are? Why, you are fabulous. For him to look at you and have pleasure, that means you're more beautiful than anything you've ever imagined. I mean, God's not going to look at ugly stuff. You know, he doesn't live in a slum. He doesn't associate with low class scumbags. You're none of that. Why, you are princes and princesses. Why, you're his beloved. When he looks at you, you take his breath. That's the way he wants to live his eternal life. And therefore you exist. So if you ever get a taste of what he sees, what does he see when he looks at you? Well, you're never gonna try to beef up your Facebook profile picture. Yeah, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. Once you are proven to yourself what you really are, then it gets a little easier to be a little humble. You know, I am, and so are you. We're all beautiful. We're all capable of giving pleasure to the source of pleasure. Now, this is huge. This is big understanding. So we're not these entities struggling to make it through the material world. We may be struggling to sometimes to pay the rent, pay the car payments, or, you know, to buy food. We may be struggling, but actually inside, the real me, this is just something I'm going through right now. And you know what? The struggle changes, doesn't it? Those of you who have lived a little bit longer, you realize it's up and down roller coaster all through your life. It's good. It's really great. It's getting better. The future looks so bright. Oh man, you know what happened? Oh, crash, bang. But then, oh, it's looking good again. That's the ride in the material world. But you, the eternal spirit soul, the Jivatma, you can and should be equipositioned. Meaning you don't have any peaks and valleys. It's just Shanti all the way, peace. Because you got it made. You don't have a worry in the world, except what you perceive. And the biggest worry, the biggest fear that people have, other than losing their phone, 60% of people say that their biggest fear in life is losing their phone. I can understand that. But the thing we fear more than anything is the unknown. We don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know who God is. I don't know. All I know is he's probably a pretty powerful guy. And since I can't predict what he's going to do or what he wants, that's kind of scary. So I kind of rather not think of him so much. As a matter of fact, instead of giving him an identity, let me just feel like all of this is the universe. Boy, it's really nothing and nobody. And maybe someday I'll go merge into that whole thing. Why, I don't have anything to worry about. You see? But you still haven't figured out who you are. You don't know who he is. You're trying to make him into something that's mundane so that you're not afraid. I'm not afraid. Are you afraid of Mercury? the planet Mercury?
Anyone that's retrograde.
Huh?
Just kidding. No.
So, I mean, we're not afraid of the universe. And so we say, you know, it's like God is the universe. Put it out to the universe. See what the universe wants. The people will say that. They don't realize they're giving, if the universe is the thing that supplies everything, you're giving it an identity. You're giving it a personality. Let's see what the universe wants. Well, that's just crazy. What does Saturn want? Saturn, how are you today? What do you want? Put them all together. Do they have a personality? No. You see? So we're all going to be happier and much more adjusted if we can get out of the illusion and find out who and what we are. Next verse, I'm going to read this. As the moon reflected on water appears to the seer to tremble due to being associated with the quality of the water, so the self associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter. Oh, what does this mean? So have you ever seen that? You ever seen the moon reflected on a lake? And it looks like it's going like this, you know? Well, but look at the moon and it's not going like this. It's still. But the reflection, because it's on the water and the water is kind of temporarily agitated, the moon looks like it's agitated. So you, because you're identifying with this body in this material world, you appear to be a certain way in your mind. You can't see how you really are. See? This is just illusory energy. We're looking into an illusion, something that's not real, and accepting it as real. And that's very unfortunate. It's very difficult for any of us to be happy for any period of time if we're in illusion. Yeah.
I just want to share a really quick realization I had today. How stubborn we are about actually connecting to Krishna, and that's where our source of happiness lies. I had a client today, and she's like, I asked her, I said, what do you want? And she's like, I want happiness, I want joy, I want gratitude, I want friends, I want family, and I'm like, you know, those are all finite. They're never going to last. What is your actual anchor? And she's like, I know where you're getting at. Krishna knows Krishna conscious. Like, I know where you're getting at. I'm not going to hold on to Krishna. I'm going to hold on to the universe. And I said, okay, that's fine.
But I've had so many people tell me that in the last 50 years. And I always come back and say, but you don't have hold of the universe right now. What do you have that's under your control right now, right this minute? Practically nothing, because I'm identifying with this temporary world. I'm an eternal living entity trying to find a niche in a temporary world, and I'll never be satisfied. I'll never feel comfortable. I could probably be okay if I were temporary. You notice that much more as you get older. You know, I think maybe if you make a little advancement in spiritual understanding, you don't like change, because the living entity doesn't change. You're eternal. The only change is your happiness and bliss is ever increasing. So when I see big changes in the material world, it kind of unsettles me. You know, I don't like change. I don't like, but this material world is constantly changing. I mean, it's amazing how the United States changed. And I was only gone 5 months. What if I was gone 5 years? I wouldn't know this place. You see? So, yeah, I mean, they say I'm going to cling to the universe. But you don't have a hold of it. It has a hold of your body. It doesn't have a hold on you. It has a hold on your body. There's only 5 elements in this material world: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That's it. So this universe took some of its elements and allowed your body to form. You see? And it wasn't the universe that was doing that. It was other forces. And so someday it's going to take those elements back. They stay here. It's like in a bubble.
Well, that's why they call it stardust.
Yeah. And what do they call these things? A terrarium, where something's in a bottle, like plants and things. There's an environment within. So that's the way the universe is. There's only so much here. And your body was formed, and it's going to unform. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. The Bible says that, yeah? So you don't have any control over what's going on here. This universe is doing its own thing under the control of intelligent design and intelligent destruction. What is the destruction? What's happening that's destroying this world? Time. Krishna says, time I am, destroyer of worlds. Time, time gives a duration to a temporary world. Otherwise, it would be eternal. If Krishna didn't come as Kala, as eternal time, well, this world would last forever. Everything would last forever. But we have to have a duration in this material world for us to have any realization of who we really are. So, yeah, I mean, what can you do? What did you end up saying to her?
I told her that did she have a relationship with the universe? Did she actually love the universe? Did she feel the universe holding her when she's in pain? And she just looked at me and said, I'm not sure. I said, I have Krishna. No matter what's going on in my life, I know he's there for me. He's my friend. And I will always be okay because of that.
And that feeling gets stronger and stronger as time goes by. Krishna wants you to know him. When you're the most beautiful, when you're as beautiful as the most beautiful, you want to be observed. God is complete in and of himself, but he wants to share him with other living entities. He wants to be observed. And he wants to observe you. So therefore, you are incredibly beautiful. Something that he wants to observe. He looks forward to seeing you. Why he can't take his eyes off of us. So this is a little bit higher understanding than something universe, this, that, merging with the light. This is all real. You can merge into the light. Now the Brahm Jyoti, you can go do that if you want to. Although you don't really merge, but you go into it, and you can stay there as long as you want. Trillions of years, if you like. But like you asked her, who's going to put their arm around you when you want to have an arm around you? Oh, well, but if I merge, I won't want love. I'll just feel love. You ever heard anybody tell you that? If I do the merge thing, I'll be in the love. Okay, who or what are you going to love? If you're going to love, there needs to be a who. And if there is a who that you love, there's something about them that makes you love them. This is just logic. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but this is just plain logic. So if you go merge into the dazzling effulgence of the Brahm Jyoti, who are you going to be in love with? Some people say, I'm just going to feel the love. All right, you go do it. Go do it. Go merge. Practice. A lot of people find out that Ashtanga yoga is a lot harder than don't do it. If you want to go into the nirvanic stage, nirvana means release from the pangs of material existence. I get peace, shanti. That's a real place. You can go to the void, nirvana. Now, void means, you ever looked it up in a dictionary? Void means nothing. I'm so strung out from trying to exist in this material world. I want some peace so bad that I'll go into nothingness. And that's real. You can go there and you'll do that and you'll get shanti. You'll get peace. Who are you going to be in love with? Well, there's nothing there. It's void. You went there to get away from the suffering of the material world, and you do it. You can stay as long as you want, but will you want to stay for eternity? More than likely not. We're all creatures of love. No matter where we go, or what we're doing, or what we identify as, we're going to want to be in love. We're going to want to exchange love. And not just casually. We're going to want the real deal. Because that's what we're all about. That's what we're made of. So, yeah, question?
Yeah, I had a thought or question. She helps people. I think we all try to help people in our own little ways. How could you make somebody feel comfortable without, not to sound mean because we all come from different descents, without throwing Krishna or saying, hey, Krishna, because how can we show that little bit of love or extended hand and say, because most people believe in God unless you're atheist, right? Hispanics and everybody. So how could you go about it to still extend a little bit of love without saying, hey, you got to do japa, hey, you got to think of Krishna, you got to go to service.
You don't have to make any demands on somebody to show them love.
Definitely.
If you become self-conscious or conscious of yourself, who and what you are, you're going to do that automatically. It's like you don't have to remember to breathe in and breathe out and breathe in and breathe. It just kind of happens. You see, you don't have to think about how to digest your food. That just kind of happens. So if you can get a little close to being your real self, then loving everybody is just going to be natural. It's going to be a reflex. Now you're going to realize as you love people that there are some people that you can't associate with because they're a little too close to the animalistic consciousness. They can even be a little dangerous. So you can love them, but you have to maybe love them at arm's length, you see. It's like if you find a rattlesnake, you're hiking out in Sabino Canyon. They're out already, by the way. I don't know if you guys know. A lot of people think, no, they're not. They're out. Yeah. So you find a rattlesnake. I can love that rattlesnake. You look at them, they're beautiful creatures. But I can't associate close with them. They're dangerous. They're unpredictable. Well, they're predictably unpredictable. I know that if I give them a chance or a reason, they're going to bite me, and it's going to cause great difficulty. And we see that in many different species that are around us. They present a danger, including the human beings. And maybe the danger that they present may not be a physical danger, but an injury to my spiritual consciousness if I get too close to them. You see, if as long as I'm influencing them with higher knowledge, then I don't have to worry about them influencing me with lower knowledge. Does that make any
Oh,
sense?
yeah, and definitely what you said, and I think we all experience that love sometimes has no words on it. You feel
Yeah.
good with somebody, you're gonna vibe with them, and you know, but it was just a question, because it's just to maybe try to go around it. Some people, like you just said, that you might not get along with, but
Just
they're definitely trying.
just do it anyway. Just do it. Just love them anyway.
Yeah.
Krishna loves them. Krishna's fascinated by them. They may think that they're a jerk. Well, I'm an American. I'm puffed up. I think I've got all kinds of money and fame and whatever, and I'm looking down on you. Yeah, well, I know Krishna loves you, so you're lovable. So I'm going to do my best to love you, but there's a lot of people that we can't get close enough to show our love because they're dangerous in different ways. But you, once you get the knowledge, you're not dangerous. Now you're like a physician, a doctor. And it's like there's Ayurvedic doctors, and they know herbs and things. Like if you have some ailment, they know how to treat you. You see? And they may tell you, they may look at it and say, your legs are really swollen. I think your kidneys are upset. You probably need some fresh turmeric and some neem and some of this and some of that. And you may think, well, I didn't ask you for a diagnosis. Well, that's what I'm a healer. That's what I do. I'm just offering it to you. So a spiritualist is the same way. I noticed that you can't say it in these words, but I noticed that you're just a notch or two above being an animal. And I think I can help you be a little bit more human being. You can't say that,
Definitely.
but you may offer, something to help them. What kind of a doctor would go around someone who's ailing and he knows how to help them, and yet he keeps his mouth zipped? It doesn't say,
Definitely.
So I think in the Bible it says for those who have more is expected.
Was that about time also? Sixth canto.
Yeah.
That if you go fifth canto, it says that certain punishments are for atheists, certain are for Brahmins, certain are for ignorant.
All right. I think we ought to sign off. Thank you all so much for coming. Good to see all of you.
Thank you.